Hi there. Welcome to the latest edition of the Financial Advantage podcast. We're powered by the Wells Funding Group. My name is Dennis Wells, and today we are joined with Sally Swick, who is with Lindsay and Associates in the Rogers, Bentonville area in Arkansas. Sally, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis, for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. So how did you get started in real estate?
Well, I don't know, over the years, I've did some different customer service and sales type jobs and worked as a diamond consultant in the Mall of America when I was attending the University of Minnesota for architecture. When I was in my master's degree, I got married to a guy in the Air Force and we ended up moving overseas. We lived overseas for like 17 years, and during that time, we had three kids, and I homeschooled my kids for 18 years. My youngest just finally graduated last year. And so when my husband retired, we moved back to my home state of Minnesota, and we lived there for about 10 years before he ended up taking a job down in Northwest Arkansas. Um, I'd always kind of been interested in real estate and figured I was going to need something to do because my kids were all graduating. And so I decided I was going to get my real estate license. And it seemed to be kind of a perfect fit because it combined my love for architecture, my history of sales, and that my importance that I place on education. And so I got my license in July of 2020, and that, during the pandemic, and we all know what the market was like at that time. And so, I hit the ground running, and I really haven't slowed down since. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's amazing. What are some of the places that you all have lived overseas?
Well, my husband was first stationed in England, but that was before we were married. Once we got married, we were in Belgium, and then we were in a couple different locations in Germany, Frankfurt, and which is Rhein-Main Air Base, which has closed, and then Geilenkirchen Air Base, or which is a NATO base actually. And then from there, we went to the Azores. We were at Lodges Field, and then he
Wow.
retired from there. So
Yeah, that's amazing. So you combine your, background in architecture, education, and then I'm sure that, living in different areas and seeing different cultures, adds a bit of flavor to your real estate business as well.
Yeah, it definitely did. I think, being a military spouse and living overseas, and we were exposed to, a multitude of different people and cultures and diverse backgrounds, from all around the world, not only just from the Americans that we were stationed with that came from all over different places in the US, but also all the local nationals. That really helped me to kind of understand the different cultures, the cultural
Hmm.
needs that people have, um, and I can, apply that to the needs of my clients. So here in Northwest Arkansas, we've got, I think it's 37 people move here a day.
Wow.
The area is growing crazy. Um, it's home of Walmart at
Hmm.
Bentonville, and then we've got JB Hunt and Tyson Foods World headquarters, University of Arkansas, all the vendors that supply, Walmart and that. So we have people moving here from all over the world, and so it kind of I think my background helps me to be able to relate with the people and to kind of understand different needs and that aren't
Hmm.
just American needs or different needs from different areas. So
Yeah. Well, and having experience being someone from one country going to another country, I'm sure gives you a lot more empathy for people that are coming here from someplace else.
yeah, absolutely. And then being a military spouse, we move. Average you move on like a 3 year, 4 year basis. We stayed within Europe. We did still move every 4 or 5 years. I'd say on the average, but yeah, it was, that move can be a stressful thing,
Hmm.
and so having somebody who's done that several times and been that new person in an area and didn't know where to go for things, you know, it it's eye-opening, I think,
Yeah.
for people that have never done it before.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, that is, I mean, for both of us, whether you're in, real estate or in the lending world, it's, it's sometimes easy to take for granted because we're in this all the time. But, I always try to keep in mind, which I'm sure you do too, like, what was it like when I got my first house? because for most people, their house represents the biggest purchase they've ever made,
Absolutely.
and probably the biggest amount of debt that they've ever incurred in one single moment. So helping people feel confident about that, feel educated, and you know and know that they can do it. Because I think sometimes they just need that third party. Hey, we've gone through everything. You have experience paying money for living somewhere anyway. So this is really a next step, and then showing them the benefits of you know on your net worth and and being a homeowner for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so what are some challenges that you're seeing in the real estate market in general, and maybe in the real estate market in the area that you're in there, Rogers and Bentonville?
Well, mainly I would say housing affordability. I mean, with
Mm,
the pandemic and the inventory shortage and that drastic price increase that home we saw in
hmm
homes, that at least now I would say that we still have an increase, but that rate of increase has come down to a healthier level. Um, but with interest rates around 6%, and even though that's still historically low, people were so used to kind of that free money that 3% made a big difference, and so that monthly mortgage payments uh, have kind of become, you know, out of reach for some people, especially, your first time home buyers.
hmm
And then with increased homeowners insurance policy rates, it's just making home ownership difficult. And so I would definitely say affordability has kind of been the issue. And in our area, I mean, I can't really say that our home prices have decreased at all because we're with 37 people moving here in a day, we still have a high demand. We can't catch up with the, that
hmm
demand that we're needing. And so, I'm hoping that we're going to see a little bit of a decrease in 2025 on interest rates that would kind of help make those payments more affordable. But I really don't expect to see any listing prices, at least in Northwest Arkansas, come down this year.
Right, right. And one of the things that that we're talking with people about, I mean, it's always about strategy, always about education. But if you're much better in negotiating with a seller to do like a temporary buy down or a permanent buy down on the interest rate than lowering the price of the house, because the amount of monthly savings on a $30,000 price reduction is maybe a quarter of what you would get for a $15,000
Right.
concession to buy down that rate.
Yeah.
You could save hundreds of dollars a month instead of 20 or $30 a month.
Absolutely. I mean, there's that saying, date the rate, you marry the house. So
hmm
I'm always telling my clients that if you're thinking of moving to Northwest Arkansas and you're wanting to buy a home eventually, if you can afford it, do it now
Right.
because you can change that rate at any
Yeah.
time. The housing prices are just they're not going to go down
Right. Right.
unless
And
there's some major thing happen in the economy, but I'm not really seeing that.
yeah, yeah. Well, and especially in in your area where you have retail, you have food, you have education, you have a very broad economic base. So it's not like, maybe areas in Oklahoma that all they do is oil, or
Right.
whatever, where, okay, if there's a problem in oil, well, then it hits the town. But as long as you have a, diversified economic base, and then I'm sure you know this too, but every 1% reduction in interest rate, you have like 1 to 2 million more people that are able to buy, and that's going to put upward pressure on prices, not probably to the extent that we saw in 21 and 22, but it's still going to be more than I think that the interest rates where they are now are kind of dampening the appreciation that we're seeing on houses, but that could instantly turn around. And like you're saying, you can't, if you can afford to buy a house now, we can fix the payment later on. But what we can't do is get you back the equity that you would have lost by not moving now and waiting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally agree with that.
So, and usually don't like timestamp some of these things, but we're in, the, November here of 2024. Are you seeing like, maybe a little bit of a slowdown because after the election or because of the holidays in your area, or is everything still going pretty strong?
Well, I mean, our area, like I still feel we're really kind of isolated. We got a little bit of insulation with the fact that we've got the home of Walmart right here, and everybody's coming here. They just recently announced, that they were closing a couple different locations, and so their employees either had to relocate back to Northwest Arkansas or take a forced retirement type thing. So, or resign. So, anyways, that really drove up the house, and that was they had to be here, I think, by November 1st. Or make some decisions for it anyways. So that really kind of helps us. But historically, I think it always sales slow down a little bit right before an election, presidential election, just because people wonder what's going to happen, where's it going to go. If I can
Mhm.
hold off a couple months, I will. And then once the election's over with, they're like, okay, now I know what direction I think our economy is going to be going in. Let's make our decisions. But for here, we're still kind of plowing along here in Northwest Arkansas. It is one of the top places to live in the U.S. now. So and we've got world class mountain biking here. So people come from around the world just to hit our trails here. So,
Wow, that's nice. Very good. So you maybe answered this a little bit already, but what sets you apart from other agents when it comes to um, your providing values to your client during the like the pre-purchase stage and when they're under contract before closing?
well, I'd probably say my availability. I really don't have any boundaries. It's not necessarily healthy, but it's true. I've got a heart for my clients, and my love language is acts of service. So for me, when I know somebody has a need, I enjoy helping them. I thrive out of that, and so I pretty much make myself available to my clients 24/7. I just got back from a family vacation. We were on a cruise, and it was really difficult because I had colleagues here that were going to take care of my clients if they needed anything in person, but it's still difficult to kind of to deal with that. And then I had some issues that just needed to be resolved, and just that the time differences and the lack of internet services and stuff like that I had when I was gone was frustrating, and made me feel bad for not being able to be with my clients. But they understand, but yet it's still, for me, I just want to help people. And I feel like everybody deserves to have a home. So
Hmm.
I I'm going to do everything I can. I came into this business right during COVID, and so like it was kind of sink or swim. And
Yeah.
I was writing offers, every day, and for the same client, write another offer for the next house, and so learning to write an offer in like 15 minutes, and being able to be available, because if you weren't available to go see something in an hour, it could be gone by the time you got your clients to see it. So for me, I feel like this is a life-changing event for them, and I didn't want to be the person that was holding them back from being able to achieve that. So I really try to pride myself on being available to my clients and doing everything I can. And whether they're trying to buy $1 million home or they're just trying to find a rental, I'm going to help anybody who's needing housing and provide that same service to everybody, no matter what their need is.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. What are some things that you do to provide value to your clients after close? Because I know like a lot of people think that our job ends when they get the keys, but we know that there's a lot of value that we add post close.
Yeah, so I try to follow up my clients, on closing day. Like obviously we're there, and then I try to reach out to them about 3 days after closing, just after now they probably moved in and are trying to get a little bit settled. 10 days, again 30 days, just to see
Hmm.
has anything new come up, and how are things going on. Do they have any questions? Are they needing any contractors for anything that I just try to really be available to them, and let them know that I'm there for them. I send out a monthly newsletter with helpful hints, for the home maintenance and stuff like that. And then, just giving them random calls and texts. If I'm driving past their home because I'm going to go on another showing, I'll shoot them a text saying, "Hey, just saw your home. Hope everything's going well. If you ever need anything, obviously I'm here to help you." And so, yeah, I just want them to know that I'm not just here to help them purchase their home or sell their home. I'm also here as a friend and an advisor, and anybody if they need anything, I'm here to help.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Because we realize that, there's a difference between buying a house and being a successful homeowner. And I tell our clients that, 60% of the value that we provide um, is really after you close. When we're helping you, like you're saying, we're helping you connect with, um, you know, anybody housing related, whether it's, a landscaper, a painter, a roofer, um,
Right.
drywall or those kinds of things. Or if someone is, hey, we were thinking about making, we got a little bit of money, we were wanting to do some upgrades to the house. What would you recommend? Because you're able to sit there and say, well, that $40,000, if you spend it here, could make the house worth $80,000 more, as opposed to if you spend it over here, it's not really going to change, the value of the house. And on our side, you know, people have that, financial planner, CPA, estate attorney, those people helping them manage their assets, but very few people have anybody helping them manage their liabilities. And that's where we really come in. We've helped you create this debt. I have a, ethical responsibility to help you manage that debt and lower the cost of borrowing over time. So we're always looking for ways to, swap out expensive debt for cheaper debt, or, bad debt for good debt, so that, you know, nice thing, about my job is I know when it's done because they don't have any more debt. Um,
Absolutely.
but working ourselves out of a job, but it's rewarding when we think about, how can we help people, not just transform their lives, but literally transform their family tree.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's generational wealth that comes with home ownership, and I think it's key. And I just was talking to one of my clients who they purchased a home about 3 years ago, and was messaging her the other day, and she was telling me she had welcomed a new addition to the family, and then was telling me that I was asking how's everything going with the home, and she's like, "Oh, great, we love home ownership, but we also realize that we now have to learn how to be a handyman." So,
Right.
yes.
Yeah. And like, remembering that, you need to replace batteries and smoke detectors. You need to replace your furnace filter. I mean, yes, over the weekend we were in the basement and doing some stuff, and I saw the humidifier on the furnace. I'm like, I need to order another filter because they replace that once a year. But you just don't, until you get into it, there's just a lot of little things that they could turn into a big thing if they're not taken care of. But
And
you
that's
know,
that's the whole point is trying to stay on top of that, to keep those things to be just maintenance items instead of a necessary repair item or something bigger. And so knowing what you need to do to maintain that investment is key, because
yeah,
some people don't know. They've never owned before, or they just have never been in a situation with this type of a home or whatever. So I try to provide as much service as I can to my clients to help them have a happy life in their home.
yep, yep, absolutely, absolutely. Where do you see the real estate market headed in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I think, the shortage of inventory and affordability issues are going to remain unless there's a big jump in new construction, which I hear a lot that that's what the federal government's even trying to push for things like that and getting new construction. And we have a lot of new construction here in Northwest Arkansas, but not enough, obviously, to surplus the number of or people that are moving here on a daily basis.
Right.
So, our area here is expected to double in size in the next 7 years, and so
Mhm.
that with that continued growth, and the constant market increase, I think real estate is a great opportunity for investment. And like we said, a way to build generational wealth.
Mhm.
I mean, I can only speak for our area. Housing has historically been a great form of investment. So
Yep.
whether you're trying to buy your first time home and then, slowly increase your home value as the years pass, or if you're trying to look for a house for investment purposes to rent out or whatnot, I think real estate is definitely a great place to go. And like I said, I'm telling you, if you want to buy a home, the sooner you can do it, the better, because you're going to start building that equity, and the market is only, we're only seeing an increasing trend of that. So, and
Yeah.
we finance when the interest rates come down.
Yep. 100%. What advice would you give to a newer agent or someone thinking about getting into the business?
Well, no matter how long you've been doing something, I feel like there's always more that you can learn about in it. So as a new agent, you just got done going through school, and you feel like you kind of got this knowledge behind you, but then when you start doing it, you're like, oh my gosh, I know nothing about what I'm doing. And
Hmm.
so I definitely would encourage newer agents to continue learning about real estate beyond maintaining just their required annual, continuing ed classes. um, get involved with your local board. I think when I started, I was like, okay, I don't really understand how this whole picture works. And so
Yeah.
for me, I got involved with the local board, started, I kind of felt like I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone. I don't know. I signed up for a few things like professional standards committee. And I was like, when I first got into the class and people started talking about how long they've been in real estate, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to be in this class. But it actually, or it was a committee, it was very helpful for me, because I feel like, look, and I joined the professional development committee. Where else can you learn how to become, a professional in your business without joining something like that? How do I
Right.
develop professionally? What standards do I need to be doing? So that really helped me to kind of see a bigger picture, and to um, just expose myself to more things that I would if I was just sitting at my desk. So I'd encourage everyone to want to join a local meeting, go to their monthly meetings if they have them, and attend guest speakers as much as possible. Earn certifications and designations so you can learn more about the business, um, and then beyond your education, I think building a relationship with other agents, with lenders, home inspectors, appraisers, title companies, contractors, all your plumbers, and all those third party vendors that you're going to have to deal with at one point or another. It's going to help you to learn more about the business as a whole, and also to be even more helpful to your clients when they call and say, my plum I just had a pipe burst in my house. Who do I call? And if you have that connection with a plumber that you can say, hey, I've got a client who's got an emergency, and they're able to respond, how much better is that for your client? So step outside your comfort zone. Do something every day that scares you. I have that quote from Eleanor Roosevelt on my desk. And so I think it's really essential, not just for your personal growth, and your development, but also for your growth as a realtor.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 And I think that, and even, beyond it as a person, if you're willing to get out of your comfort zone, then that is going to, um, going to pay dividends because, we can't, I don't know who said it, but like, we can't get, stretched to grow and then go back and be the same as we were before. So it really, I think increases our capacity to help other people at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I mean, human nature is you want to take the easiest path, right?
Hmm.
But you're just not going to grow. And the more, you try something different and you expose yourself, the more you learn. And I think that kind of also ties into, me living overseas for 17 years and being exposed to different cultures and how people do things. And, I think sometimes as Americans, we tend to, we have a large country, but we're isolated from other countries. And so
Right.
we tend to think everybody is like us.
Hmm.
And that's not the case. And so I think really exposing yourself to other things is a great way to
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah. What are some of the designations that you recommend realtors get?
Well, I I went ahead and I started off, my first thing was a certificate. It was the C2EX, which is a certificate to excellence.
Mm.
And it really, there's like tasks that are involved that you have to go out and do. And so it forces you to get involved and do some things that you wouldn't maybe have thought of doing. So that was helpful. And then I've done at home with diversity, which helps for you to, you know, know more about the diverse backgrounds for things in how to respond in situations. So I
Mm,
think with our country, that's really helpful to do. Um, Accredited buyers rep is one that I got this year. It's helpful to give you teaches you how to put together programs and things like that for your business itself, but and how to be a better representative to the buyers. And this year I also did my GRI, which is the Graduate of Realtor Institute. I've got one elective class left in that. Um, but it was really helpful. And, I didn't take it right away because I kind of thought, okay, I got to learn some more about real estate before I do this. But I had an assistant who was licensed and I told her, I was like, you're new, but take your GRI right away. There is so much you
mm,
can learn from it right away that, when you first start in real estate, you've got all the time in the world, but you don't have any clients. And
right.
you don't know what you should be doing or what you should be prepping or preparing or how
Yeah.
do you lay out your business. And then once you start going and you get business and now you're getting busy and you're like, I don't have any programs implemented because I didn't know what programs I really should have.
Right.
So these things kind of help you give you that information that you wouldn't know right away. So I kind of wish I would have done that sooner. Um, yeah, and now this coming year, I was just recommended by a distinguished realtor in our area and a past Arkansas Realtor Association president for the GRLA, which is the Graduate Realtors Leadership Academy. So
Mm,
I'm probably going to work on doing that and getting more involved in leadership as well. So I just think anything that you can do that you're passionate about is something that you should do. And then start looking in the broader scope of things of what are there needs in the area or what would be beneficial that you could provide to your clients. So
yeah. Yeah. I love it. I've done the certified mortgage planning specialist, the certified mortgage advisor, and certified divorce lending professional, and a lot of those too. It's like understanding how, you know, utilizing mortgage as a tool, that we're not just out here selling debt, but we are helping people utilize a financial tool that goes along with their overall financial plan, because the house is a part of that, but it should not be all of that. Understanding how that market works, and I really saw a need when people were going through a divorce situation. A lot of times, lawyers just say, and people don't know what they don't know, so I'm not throwing rocks, but they'll say, well, just have the other person refinance the house, which would be great, except that there are guidelines with how loans have to work, and you really have to structure the everything right to make it on the back end where everything would work out. And I realized that, and then had the opportunity to do that, and to again, just to be able to serve people, and you know and yeah, I mean, it's not something that they're going to you know do a deal right away. There's going to be a lot of lead up, but if you can get in, for me, if I can get involved in that process at the beginning, no cost, no obligation, but let's just think through how to get everything set up so that you know at the end of the day, as much as possible, everybody is as whole as possible and able to move on with their lives, and that you know, nobody is waiting for proceeds off of a house that you can't refinance or can't sell, and no one is having to, you know, sell the house they want to keep and go rent because it just wasn't set up right. So,
right.
um, yeah, I think those are, you know, just being willing to, learn so that we can be, better resources for our clients is huge.
Absolutely, yeah. And I tell my clients when I've got buyer clients who are like looking, they're starting to look at homes and I'm like, "Hey, have you talked to a lender yet?" Or, and if they haven't, I'm like, "Look, I think, don't find the house that you love and then try to work out, how you're going to try to buy it. It
Right.
it's better off to go talk with a lender and find out what are you qualified for and how is it going to work and what's going to best work for you and your family and then go from there. And the same with, since I told you I help renters as well, and most renters want to own a home, but they're like, I don't think I can afford it. And I'm like, well, don't always rule yourself out. Talk to a lender, it's free. Go talk to a lender and find out how can they best help you, because they can probably tell you a few things to do that's going to set yourself up so that next year when your lease is over with, you can actually go and, buy a home.
Yeah.
So it's really important that I think it's great that lenders are there to help them, be able to make their way to home ownership.
Yeah, yeah. And I tell people, 30% of our value is really in that, initial contact to when you actually get under contract, because, the way I see it, most people have three options. You can kind of, cross your fingers and hope everything's going to work out, and probably not going to get a house, or you can put a little bit of effort and, potentially find something that no one else is interested in. Although we both know that the likelihood of someone else being interested in the house goes way up when you're interested in it.
Yeah,
Um, or, we can really invest some time, and it's not a tremendous amount of time, but we can, really get you, we can get you through underwriting so you can compete with a cash offer because now you don't have a mortgage contingency.
right.
And we can help you with your agent, maybe negotiate a little bit better price or some concessions based on the fact that you're competing with cash. And then also give you some strategies that, hey, if this is a house that you really want and you're willing to go hard to get it, we can talk through some strategies that are going to set you apart to make sure that your offer is, as strong as it possibly can be. And, obviously we can't get on the podcast and guarantee anybody that we can do anything. But, the goal is to put people in the situation where, they are most set up for success, and that's really our goal. And like you're saying, whether it's, hey, we're 6 months out, that's fine. Let's figure out what we need to do to make sure that when that time comes around, you're ready to go.
Absolutely.
So,
Totally agree.
yeah. Well, Sally, thank you so much for joining me on the program today. I'm sure a lot of people would love to get in touch with you and learn more about how you help buyers and sellers and help people create wealth through real estate. What's the best way for people to contact you?
Well, typically I would say give me a call on my cell. It's, or send me a text, and you can find me on my company's website. It's lindsay.com, lindsey.com, and then look up Sally Swick. I'm also on Facebook. So yeah, I would really say that's the best way. I tend to like to have personal phone calls, kind of old school,
Yeah,
chat with people
yeah.
if I can, and just, see how we can help them to get them forward and, start living in their dreams.
I love it. I love it. And what's the best number for them to call or text you at?
My cell is 952-277-9191.
I love it. I love it. Well, Sally, thank you again. I want to thank everyone for joining us today on this episode of the Financial Advantage. We are powered by the Wells Funding Group. My name is Dennis Wells. You can reach myself and the team at 219-230-8400. We would love it if you would like and subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform that you're on. And of course, share it with two or three other people that would love to learn more about creating wealth through real estate. Sally, thank you so much.
Thanks, Dennis, for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right. You bet.
Have a great day.
You too.